Before 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was signed into law, minorities of all ethnicities would march and protest just to get a chance to vote. However, during these marches, minorities would be beaten, killed, and even sometimes attacked by dogs. And during this process, women were also subject to the same type of treatment. However, in 1965, LBJ signed into law the Voting Rights Act. And on that historic day, Martin Luther King Jr. was there present as LBJ was signing that Voting Rights Act into law. Now fast forward to 2015. At the University of Texas at El Paso, I had the privilege of interviewing a few students and asking them about voting rights. The first person I interviewed is about 27 years old, and I started off by asking him if he has ever voted before.
Have you voted before in the past?
I have.
Yeah. Do you usually vote on the local elections, or do you only vote for president elections?
I usually only voted for the president elections, but I've only voted like twice, I think.
Okay. What do you think about voting? Do you think voting is a good thing, a bad thing?
I think voting for local offices is probably a better thing because usually who you vote for is going to be who represents you. Voting for presidential elections, I think, can be a waste of time because you can vote for whoever you want to vote for, but it's your electoral college member that's going to be actually casting the vote for whoever becomes president. So that's where I feel that it's not effective, I guess, for presidential votes.
Okay.
The second person I interviewed is about 23 years old, and I start off by asking him if he has ever voted before.
Have you voted before?
Yes, I have.
Do you know how many times you voted by any chance?
No.
No? Okay, it's all right.
A few times.
That's all right, as long as you voted. Do you only vote on presidential elections or local elections or both?
I try to vote as much as I can on local elections, and I try to, if I'm informed, I'll go vote, and if I don't know anything, I try to stay away.
Okay. What do you think about voting in general? Do you think voting is a good thing, bad thing? Should we vote more often?
Yes, I think like people tend to think as voting for the presidential elections as like very important, but in reality, I believe that it's like who you vote for like locally, because I mean you could only do so much at a national level, but where your representatives, they could start building things, give you new highways or like stuff like that, like things that matter.
So you think more local elections are more important than the presidential elections because of that? Okay.
The next person I interviewed just became old enough to vote. We start off by asking if she's going to vote in the next elections.
You're planning to vote the next election?
Yes.
Voting is important?
I do think it's important. Yeah.
Why do you think it's important?
Only because we have such an opportunity to make a difference that if we're not taking that opportunity, then I don't feel like we're using our free rights as well as we should be. I think everyone should be able to take that opportunity to make a difference in some way.
Should we be voting only on presidential elections, or would you also be voting on local elections as well, for mayor and stuff like that, because that comes up more frequently?
I haven't really participated in those elections. I haven't done the research as much as the presidential elections. I mean, I would always love to get into it, but I've never really paid attention.
Okay, but you're planning to vote for both the presidential election and local elections and stuff. Okay.
According to the Pew Research Center, in 2008, 51.1% of voters casted a ballot, but 2 years later, 36.9% of voters casted a ballot that year for the midterms. According to Marketplace.org, local elections are just as important as presidential elections. Gretchen Kuda Cronin explains why.
But for many of the things that really impact our day-to-day lives, it turns out that it's the candidates on the local ballot that really count. Sarah Elkind is a professor of political history at San Diego State University and the author of How Local Politics Shape Federal Policy.
Local government has an enormous impact on people's everyday lives and on the services that most people have the most contact with. So if you think about what government provides on a day-to-day basis, schools, transit, water supply, waste and sewage disposal, public health surveys of restaurants, fire, police, those things are mostly provided by local government.
Dale Miller was one of the candidates on the Lakewood ballot this year. A 20-year veteran of local politics, Miller was just reelected to the Cuyahoga County Council seat. Miller, so does the country. So how does he think he'll do compared to the president?
The president and the Congress and their policies have the potential to affect the macro, large-scale direction of the economy, and that affects people's lives in a big way. I think local and county government is more likely to impact the quality of life, what the neighborhood looks like, and things of that nature.
So what can we do to make changes? Very simple. Let's go out there and vote. Let's let our voices be heard. And if we don't vote, we don't have anything to complain about. So vote.